Hello, this is Brett from Survival Comms, and today we're going to expand the transmit on a Yaesu FT817ND. This is a US model, and the reference document I have is this one here that I printed up off the internet. I always print stuff up instead of looking at it on the screen. After this modification here that I'm going to perform, it's basically, you can see here, it's going to give it full HF coverage, and it's going to give it the V and UHF. For my own personal curiosity, this isn't something that is imperative for myself. Obviously, I've had the radio for several years and haven't done this, but let's go ahead and get started. You basically just break the radio down. It's very simple. You just essentially remove the screw at the rear, these two screws, and the same thing on the opposite side, and then the housing itself. And when I reassemble it, I'll go ahead and I'll video that so you can kind of see it in reverse. Let's go ahead and pay attention to what we got to work with here, which is in the control head itself. Okay, here's what we're working with here. This is on the back of the control head itself when you remove it, and you can see these jumpers right here. And these jumpers are what we're going to work with here. Now, again, there's ambiguity in the online instructions. Some of them say that this is jumper 1, and some of them say this is jumper 1 on the right-hand side. So they're all consistent in removing jumper 5, which is going to be this one right here. Jumper 5, that's basically controls the transmission limits for the VHF and UHF portion of the radio. And this document here that I just showed you says that if we take and bridge this one here and the one to the left of it here, that we're going to get full transmit coverage. And another website that I referenced had said such as well. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to work with that there. Okay, now you can see what I've done here. I tried to film this, but it was difficult to film it and perform it at the same time with the magnifier. I used to be able to do this stuff without a magnifier, so getting old as a bear, that's for sure. But anyway, so what I did is I used wick and I lifted position 5's jumper, and I jumpered position 8 and position 9. So what we're going to do is we're going to reassemble the radio and see if the modification works. Okay, the reverse is going to be the way you disassemble it. I didn't film that. So what you do is you have this small ribbon cable here. You lay that in this track here, and you have your track lock up. You insert that in as far as it'll go, and then fold that down and lock your ribbon cable in place. Now, when you were disassembling it, you would just merely very gently lift this lever, and then the ribbon cable separates. At the front of this here, the VFO has a wire it's visible in the way they routed the wire for the VFO, and you move it when you mod it. So just ensure that you run it back over top of the VFO in a clockwise fashion. Now we'll go ahead and just merely snap your control head back on. You'll see there's these little points where it locks in place. You'll lock those two there, like so, and then this one here on top, and then you can see this one here, it never had one to begin with, so it just rests against where that hole is. So I'm unsure why they did that, perhaps to accommodate the speaker. Okay, your top cover here and your speaker plug goes into this recess right here. Trying to see if you guys can see that there. And just plug your speaker back in there. Your housing has this tab on the top of it. The tab goes to the rear. then place that cover on right there. All one screw to retain the cover in case we decide to undo the mod or there's a problem. But I do want to power it up and test it with the covers on it. Okay, turn your radio over. Go ahead and put your other housing back on. Alright, the moment of truth. Let's boot this thing up. Okay, now try to do a reset here. Hooked up the power. It sounds like it worked. Okay, and this is after the full transmit expansion of the FT817ND US model. You can see I've again gone over the arrangement of the jumpers, and this is out of the box, and this is after you modify the jumpers to get the full transmit expansion. The tests of power output, all this stuff was gathered with the service monitor, and it was on a power supply. So this is at 13 volts DC. HF, you gain the full HF band, and 3 megahertz. 33 megahertz is where it rolls over. So low band wise, you're gaining full transmit from 33 to 56 megahertz, and these are the results here. On your high band side, VHF, you can see that you're transmitting from 140 to 154 megahertz, and you can see the power output results there. And you can see that in the high band and UHF side, there's not a whole heck of a lot of wiggle room in there. So you're not going to get, you're not going to be able to monitor the weather channel in VHF. You're not going to be able to monitor the marine band or anything above 154 megahertz. And on UHF, you can see here our power output, and we cover from 420 to 470 megahertz. Now after about 460 megahertz, you see the power performance really falls off. Even the receive falls off. What I did was I didn't do a SYNAD test on everything, but what I did do was I put in a signal, a generated signal of a minus 130 decibel millivolts, and use that as a baseline, and it would receive everything until you got to UHF above 460 megahertz, and then the performance dropped off quite a bit on receive. I ended up having to add 5 dB of signal, so minus 125 dB decibel millivolts. Got it to receive again, so, or got it to be audible. And in closing, the modification itself worked out well. It has enhanced the capabilities of the FT817ND, but again, you don't want to use frequencies outside of your license privileges or use a radio in a service that it's not type accepted for. But that being said, satisfied my curiosity about just how far you could take the radio out of band and see what the performance is outside of the amateur band. Well, I hope this helps. This is Brett from Survival Comps. Till next time.